They've never paid any bed tax ever, and they obviously haven't made a contribution to the bid organization that was formed a couple years ago. And I think, again, I'll point out, we notified you all of this, and we put them on notice, and we've had conversations with them about this, so I don't think it would be a shock to them. And I believe in discussions with Jared that, as you're reallocating these tables, when you look at, where you're going to get the best bang for the buck, it certainly isn't with 6 units sitting with the Art Center, in a hope and a prayer that they're going to develop them someday. And if they want to come back, when they have their house in order and have a plan to actually, realize those and start paying bed tax and some of the other things that are clearly outlined in the town plan, then I think that's their opportunity to do so. So second to last slide here, I want to just go through some of the objections that I know you're going to hear today. Data is inconclusive, incorrect, or incomplete. And I think we can all agree that anyone who sat through the nice presentation that planning did back in November on this, that this is data forensics, and you have to put a stake in the ground at some point, and you have to make a decision, and that decision really lies with the 5 of you up there. And I think we've shown unequivocally that there's been a growth in residential, and there's been a decrease in vacation rentals, and that slack can be picked up. So at some point, someone has to take a stand on the data front. You're going to hear that the entire town plan needs to be updated to approve, and I think Jared showed you that that's just not the case. You're going to hear that it's difficult for staff to make a formal recommendation. That's actually right out of the staff report, and I think that's just him crying out for you to make a decision and help him make sense of some of this data, and you can do that today. You're going to hear you need more time. And, like Jared pointed out, this has been a 15-year project. There's been CACs. There's been public meetings. We've been in front of you, I don't know how many times, talking about this. I think more time would be an insult at this point. The legal precedent, and afraid that the Coastal Commission is going to reject this. I wish Lee was here because I'm sure he would make that argument. We don't agree. We believe that there's enough data that's been collected and validated by staff that this decision you make today has some legs and has enough where we can all go to the Coastal Commission and look them in the eye and say, this is within the guidelines of that town plan, and it's a justified increase to this property. You're going to hear that it's unfair to other ends or the Mendocino Art Center if you were to make this decision today. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think you're going to do some of these people that may come up here today a favor because they're going to be back behind us with some of those units. And they're going to have a different perspective when the framework is laid out for them to come in and have success with you. And until that happens, it's a fear factor. They're afraid that we're going to get the only units available, and they're never going to be able to have a shot at it. And that's what you'll hear from some of them today. You're going to hear from one individual specifically that there's no demand for more rooms. And he's going to share with you all the statistics of vacant rooms that he has and how there's not room for more in rooms in Mendocino. And I'll point out that that individual has 41% of the rooms that are on that table that we're discussing, 4.13-1. And so having 96 of the 234 rooms, yeah, he has some issues filling those rooms up. But I will tell you, the smaller properties and our properties all combined together have less rooms than his smallest property. We need those rooms because those are the rooms that fill up in the summertime, and they fill up when we have weddings and events, and those are what get us through the lean times in January and so forth. I don't know if Mary Weaver's behind me, but she'll probably stand up here and talk about the fact that the update doesn't account for commercial development. And I think if you look in the town plan, there's actually some discussion of exactly what areas were going to be commercial, the Main Street, Lansing Street, and Albion Street. and those areas they have become more dense, but I think the underlying tenet here is that the residential has grown, and that, yeah, maybe some of those people that were living in single unit apartments have turned into gift shops or whatnot, but in replacement for those, we've seen a growth in the overall residential, and that's an irrefutable fact that this whole thing is built on. And Mary would also tell you that if you approve this today, you're giving $200,000 to the applicant. And my response to that is that this is actually a positive thing for the county. Your tax assessor can come behind this approval and look at a higher basis of property tax. These ends turn over on average every 7 years. You're going to realize that that benefit of if you got 17 rooms at her calculation of $200K, that's $3.4 million that every 7 years is going to spin through the valuation of these properties. That's a significant number, in addition, obviously, to the bed tax and so forth. I don't know if you'll hear this today, but it's covered in the staff report about no one having more than 25 rooms. We've been compliant with that through having a separate entity and business tax and filing with our bed tax, and clearly have another entity that has 44 and 52 that's in the plan. So I don't see that as an issue, and I think we've cleared that with your council. So in conclusion, I'll just run down why I think that today is the day for you to approve this. One, there's no new construction. It's in the general plan speaks to compact development being a high priority. Clearly, with this being done in an existing building, that meets those criteria. All the environmental concerns are met. We've been down the water path, we've been down the sewer path, we've been down the parking path, and met those. We validated an increase of residential. We validated a reduction in the vacation rentals and the single unit rental inventory. We've got 6 units at the Mendocino Art Center, should we choose to go after those. The economic stimulus, which I think is obviously on top of everybody's mind these days, and the property tax, the bed tax, which I know you all keep a close eye on as that grows and wanes. It's an important part of the fabric of this county at this point. And then, of course, jobs. I think, there's some statistics out there in the hospitality industry specifically around every room and how many jobs that creates. And you can tie it back. Every room that you add or have actively working in the system is going to create jobs. Clearly, this is consistent with the Coastal Act, with visitor serving being the highest priority, and the tenants that we've spoken to in the town plan. And I think I just want to leave